All right, we didn't have to fix any settings. Everything's good. We are live. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Two Geeks and a Noob podcast. I am your host, Super Beer Vince Hoover. Today, I am joined by a good friend, a TikTok sensation, stand-up comedian, and fellow podcaster, Kevin McTaggart. Kevin, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks for having me. Happy to be here.
Absolutely, absolutely. So glad to have you here. For anybody who doesn't know Kevin, you can go find him. The little links are right there on the screen. You'll see them. Which, by the way, before we go any further, just a reminder, please like and subscribe. Now that I have my new fancy button, y'all can check that out. Follow, subscribe, all that good stuff. Also, we have merch down below. If you look below the About section on Twitch, you can see the merch. Also, if you join our Patreon for as little as $3 a month, you have 24/7 access to that merch. You get these full podcasts the night they come out, long before anybody else does, and more stuff is coming, so you'll get access to that early as well. Once again, Kevin, thank you for joining me on the show. So you and I have met through TikTok. We have a lot of similar interests, wrestling one of the biggest ones. But part of what kind of caught my attention with you was the fact that you do have a stand-up comedy background. So tell the people a little bit about yourself and a little bit about what you do, and let the people know your likes, your interests, the things you geek out about.
Okay. All right. That's a great question. Lots of questions right there. All right. Great. My name's Kevin. I live in Vermont. I've been doing stand-up comedy for almost 8 years now. I consider myself the grumpiest comic in Vermont, not because I've called myself that, but because other people who watch my stand-up call me that. Okay, so it's not like, just a self-imposed nickname like some other people have, because that's not how you get nicknames. But anyway, yes. So yep, I'm big into stand-up comedy. I like professional wrestling. I'm a big Batman fan. I like other superheroes too. I'm a huge Pearl Jam fan as well. Yeah, and I have a full-time job that, where I don't get to do as much content as I would like, but I get paid to do the full-time job. So that's how that works. So I think I covered everything.
Well, tell everybody about your podcast.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, that's right. My podcast is called What's Pissing You Off Wednesday, where I rant and react to whatever's pissing people off. Usually I'll ask the question on my Facebook page, my personal Facebook page. If you have Facebook, go ahead and try to be send me a friend request if you have Facebook. If you still have Facebook. I know people are like ditching Facebook.
Yeah, a lot of people have moved away from there, but if you still have it. But
Yeah,
also, like, you have on your website, which is McTaggartAttacks.com, you have a question submission. You can submit your question there as well, right?
I do have that also. Awesome. Yeah, and I have a big Twitter following, so I asked the question on Twitter too, like what's pissing you off, and I have people respond, and I react to it in my podcast, which is on YouTube and wherever you listen to podcasts.
Perfect. So, as we were talking kind of before the show, I have another podcast called The Depths of Laughter, which is what we talk about stand-up comedy a lot. So I'll definitely have you on another time on that podcast with us as well.
Great.
But like, what got you into stand-up comedy, and what keeps you going at it? Because it is honestly, one of the hardest artistic mediums to continue in.
Well, I always wanted to do it, and after I graduated college, I thought about doing it, but I was too scared to do it, and I'd always wanted to do it. Like, I'd written material back then. I'm 45, and so I think it was 8 years ago I finally got the courage to sign up for a class up here in Vermont with the Vermont Comedy Club. And that sprungboard me into like going to open mics and doing material and getting on shows and stuff like that. I love doing it. Stand-up comedy is the one one of the few things that I don't get nervous doing.
And
You
here
know?
and that's the funny thing for me because I'm actually the
Yeah.
exact opposite. For me, like
Oh,
I've wrestled in front of thousands upon thousands of people.
yeah.
I've done plays in giant theaters. I've acted in TV shows. I've been on radio, on big channels down in the southeast, and even on Sirius XM. I've had massive. I've done MMA fights. Like I did a year of MMA before I got injured, and like I've done all these things in front of these large crowds, and I've never once gotten nervous. I never got nervous before a match, before a play, before a show, anything. I've never been nervous. The only time I've ever gotten nervous, and one of the reasons I like it so much, is stand-up comedy.
Yeah.
So when I do stand up, that's the only time I actually get nervous and I feel alive. And I think that's
Right.
interesting that for you it's actually the exact opposite, but that's also what makes it great for you.
Right. Like I feel great after a set after I've made everybody laugh for the whole time. Like the high that comes off of that is exhilarating.
Yeah, the endorphin run on that is
Right. The
huge.
endorphin run. Yeah, it's huge. Yeah.
Um
The,
Go ahead.
like I guess I would technically sort of get nervous sometimes in stand up if I didn't know what I was going to say. But I think because I know what I'm gonna say for the most part, that's probably why I don't get nervous, because I know what I'm going to do.
For me the
You know?
reason I get nervous is that even if I know like a joke landed hard, and I mean I made a place erupt the night before,
Yeah.
the Thursday night crowd might have loved the joke, but the Friday night crowd might hate it, and it could be crickets.
Hmm.
And so you live it like in wrestling, it's the same crowd. It doesn't matter if it's different people in the audience; it's the same crowd.
Hmm. Right.
Same with plays and TV shows. Like the crowd is the same every time, even if it's different people. It's the same type of people. But with comedy, every crowd is different.
Yeah.
And it's sometimes there's people that have never been to a comedy show before that they just needed something to do and it was around. There's people
Right.
who comedy because comedy is not only so subjective, there are so many different avenues in stand-up comedy that they
Hmm.
may like this type of comic but don't like your type of comedy. So it's like you
Right.
can live and die by that crowd. Um who were some of the people that inspired you in stand-up, and who were some of the people that you like now?
Let's see. I think this is going to sound like a shitty answer, but George Carlin, somebody that inspired me, I think.
That's not
Um,
that's an appropriate answer.
yeah, yeah. Uh, Lewis Black. I love how angry he gets on
Love
stage.
Lewis Black, yeah.
I guess he could still be a contemporary one because he's still around.
In fact, I think he has a new special out or coming out.
I think so. Oh, I can't remember. There's one guy. There's one younger guy who's out there now. I can't remember his damn name. Damn it! But he can't remember his name. So yeah, that's blanking on it. Can't remember who he is. I'll probably tell you who he is later. I don't know.
Yeah, if it comes,
But
if it ever pops up,
yeah,
go ahead and shout it out. Um,
sure.
a comic that I will always recommend to everybody, regardless of your comedy style, but I think especially
Hmm.
for your style and the kind of people you listed, is a comedian
Hmm.
named Chad Daniels.
Oh, okay.
Chad Daniels is one of those comedians that every comedian knows and loves, but for
Hmm.
some reason he's never gotten like massively huge. Now he has an Amazon Prime special. His latest special is now up for free on YouTube. So if you just type in
Hmm.
Chad Daniels, it should pop up. Um, I've been watching this guy since 2013. He's been in comedy for 20 years. I have followed his career very closely. To me, he is the greatest stand-up comic working today, and he's one of those
Hmm.
like he to me is definitely the greatest comedian that nobody knows about.
Yeah.
Um, because like in Tampa, which is a very big market, Tampa, Florida,
Hmm. Right.
we have two clubs really. There is the Improv, which is the one that like you'll get a Kevin Hart or a Dave Chappelle or a Lewis Black at. Like
Hmm.
they'll do the Improv if not a theater show. Like so
Yeah.
if they decide to do a club show versus doing the theaters, they'll do the Improv because that's the
Hmm.
big club. Then we have Side Splitters, which is still a relatively big club. It gets big names. Norm Macdonald loved that club. Um, and Chad Daniels is now a feature headliner there. Like he now comes down, and normally it's like he gets a special Wednesday event every year. But although he did tell me that next year he's going to do a full weekend because he wants to spend the whole weekend with us in Tampa. He likes the area. So he wants to do another weekend gig. But normally he's like that kind of like he's that so like that kind of special attraction, but on the, for lack of a better term, the B club.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and I hate to call it the B club because I actually prefer Side Splitters to the Improv, because the Improv has that. It doesn't feel that as intimate. It doesn't feel like you're. It feels like you're at a theater almost.
Mm-hmm.
And but he's that kind of guy. Like him and Tom Segura are good friends. They met on an overseas tour, and like so. But Tom has now become that theater comic, that arena comic. And
Yeah.
Chad is like, no, I'm going to stick to the clubs. And so part of the reason he's not as well known is kind of by choice, because he doesn't feel like he doesn't, he wants to keep it intimate. But
Yeah.
I always recommend everybody check out Chad Daniels. He's great. Moving away from comedy a little bit, and we'll
Sure.
jump back and forth because I don't ever. I'm
Yeah.
a tangent person, so I will always
Who
be all
needs
over
a
the place.
plan?
Exactly. But another big thing, and this is going to kind of tie in, for everybody who isn't aware, I mentioned the Depths of Laughter podcast every Monday, 8 p.m. I also do a Wrestle Talk podcast, and when I say talk, I don't mean TALK, I mean TOK, because it's based on my friends I've met through TikTok. So this Saturday we have our second episode coming up. And wrestling is something that you and I have obviously connected on as well.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't want to go too much into it because unfortunately, like when I was recording the Depths of Laughter podcast this past Monday, in real time, I got the news that Razor Ramon had passed away.
Yeah.
So that was huge. So I
That's
covered that, and we're probably going to end up
yeah.
spending most of Saturday talking about Razor. So
Right.
no
Right.
disrespect at all, but let's stick to like the
Other stuff.
yeah, the not so
Right, yeah.
sad stuff right now.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yep.
What? So you said you're 45 now, so
Yep.
you obviously been a wrestling fan probably for a long time, I would imagine, right? Like
Yeah, most of my life.
you grew up on it, like I did.
Yep, I did. Yeah, like
Yeah.
the first thing I remember wrestling wise was watching World Class Championship Wrestling. You know, like the Von Erichs.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and then like I didn't really pay that much attention to it, and then like Hulk Hogan came around, and you know he was my favorite. He was everybody's favorite, and then the Undertaker became my favorite, and still is. Well, not really now because he's retired, but
I mean, you can still have. I
yeah.
mean, he's your favorite of all time. He falls under the
Right,
all-time
yeah, he's
category.
my favorite all time. Yeah,
Not
he's
current,
my favorite of all
not
time.
current favorite, but favorite. Yeah.
Yeah.
I love Mark to death.
Yeah.
I was very fortunate to be in the ring with Mark.
Cool.
It wasn't like a show or anything like that. So I used to train at the Steve Kern School of Hard Knocks.
Oh yeah, nice.
And WWE bought, when they decided to part ways with Ohio Valley Wrestling.
Mm-hmm.
They bought the school from Steve Kern, kept him on for a while, and created FCW, which then became NXT.
Mm-hmm.
When that happened, our ring was like 30 years old back when that happened. So we're talking like 2007, 2008.
Oh wow.
The ring was already 30 years old. It was a hell of a thing to bump in. It sucked. Best way to learn, I'll tell you that. Because then when you finally get to the big time, it's like bumping on a trampoline compared.
Right.
But
oh yeah.
But they told us like, okay, well, we need to replace this ring, keep it as a backup, but keep it up in storage. We want to get you a ring. We're going to give you one of our old WWF rings, the blue and yellow ropes, the old 80s, like the nostalgia ring. We're like, oh, that's going to be cool. So the truck shows up. It's a big semi truck. The driver gets out. He helps us unload everything. We put the ring together. We're tightening everything up. And he goes, hey, so the guy who rode with me, he wants to run the ropes with you guys. And we're like, what? Some no-name jabroni wants to get out of it, like your dude that just rode with you, whatever. We're like, okay. And we kind of like, yeah, okay, whatever.
Yeah.
And I remember my trainer, Buck Quarterman, he goes, man, I don't know about this. And the second he said that, Mark Calloway gets out the truck and walks in and goes, because as it turned out, the ring was his old training ring from his house.
Oh wow.
WWE had approached him and said, "Hey, we're going to give you a new ring to train in.
Hmm.
Can we use the old WWF ring?"
Yeah.
And so I got tombstoned, I got old schooled.
Nice.
It was it was amazing. I don't care that I didn't get the entrance of the Undertaker. I don't care that I didn't get it in front of 1,000. I don't care if I didn't get it in front of anybody but the class. Just the fact that
Yeah.
I got to be in the ropes with him was
Yeah.
amazing. Love that
It's
dude.
better that way, I think.
It was. It was far more intimate,
Yeah.
far more like he still was kind of in character. Like the
Right.
second he stepped through the ropes, he was kind of like still in character, but like
Yeah.
he had a gray tank top on, black jeans, cowboy boots, you know.
Right.
Awesome, awesome dude.
Wow.
That was fun.
That's cool.
Um, so right now, like wrestling is we got WrestleMania coming up,
Yep.
and AEW is forging fast ahead.
Yeah.
Um, they're moving forward. Um, what about the product today? Are you enjoying? Because it is obviously vastly different now than it was 30 years ago.
Yeah. It's really it's different than it was 20 years ago.
Yeah.
Like you had the Attitude Era back then, and now it's kind of like the opposite of the Attitude Era. But what do I like about it now? I don't know. I still watch it, but there's a lot of it that frustrates me, as a fan, because like I want I think the wrestling action is great and they're very good at wrestling, but the, the plot holes in these storylines sometimes just really piss me off. You know, That's just yeah. That's a good question. There are things I like. Like I like Kevin Owens. I like that whole thing. Um, he's done a great job. RK Bro is very entertaining right now.
Yeah, they're
It
probably the
might
best thing
be.
on TV right now.
Yep. Yeah. And I like a lot that happens on AEW for the most part. Um, I just I just like wrestling that doesn't insult my intelligence, and I think AEW doesn't really insult my intelligence as much as the WWE does sometimes. But the WWE, I feel like, has gotten better with that, or maybe I've gotten over the whole insulting my intelligence thing and just try to be entertained by it. I don't know. Maybe I've gotten too wrapped up in the toxic wrestling
The
fan culture on
IWC,
social media.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Well,
I just try
here's
to enjoy it.
I think with WWE is that a lot of times you see these people bitch about it, like insulting intelligence and whatnot, and I get
Yeah,
that. But
right.
WWE isn't for you in the sense that it's not
Yeah,
meant for the like. Of course, they want to keep the lifelong fan, but they're
right,
always about the new fan. They're always about, and because it is PG, like they are focused on kids. So
right,
the reason
right.
some of the storylines seem simple or seem kind of like the commentators like repeating things over, like the
Oh yeah,
recaps. I saw
yeah,
somebody bitching about all the recaps, and even Kevin Owens was bitching. Like
yeah.
on Monday Night Raw, he's like, that just happened 15 minutes ago. Why are they showing that? But that's what makes it
Right.
great. That's what makes it great for the older generation, for the smart marks, as you want to, a
Yeah,
lot of people want to call it. It's when you have a guy like Kevin Owens going, they just showed it. We just did that 15 minutes
yeah,
ago. Why are they showing that again? But for the people with the shorter attention spans, the younger generation, the people that maybe have to watch it the next day and watch it in
yeah,
parts because they can't stay up late because Raw's a 3 hour show,
yeah.
and it's on a Monday.
Right.
That's really what's for. And AEW has decided to, instead of cater to the future audience, they're catering to
Hmm.
the right now. My
Yeah.
issue with AEW is that um they are not as storyline based as I would like it to be. A lot of the
No.
storylines feel hollow or almost non-existent.
Yeah.
I'm a big psychology guy, so like
Hmm.
I feel like I'm not a big high spot guy. I enjoy watching high spots, but
Yeah.
like the at Revolution, the triple threat tag team match was a
Hmm.
spot fest that was enjoyable, but at the same time, because these guys
Yeah.
are more focused on getting their moves in and the psychology, when you're there live and the camera, like TV is fortunate for them because it can cut away from them doing, preparing for the. You would see guys just kind of like waiting around the ring for when they can slide in and hit their move instead of really selling that they're hurt on the outside. They're so worried about their cues to go in and hit their move. You see them like, can I go in yet? Can I go? Like I'm watching Bobby Fish do that. I'm like, why? Just go in now. Go in. Like you're
Yeah.
obviously you're well enough to be go. What are you doing?
Right.
But obviously with TV, you just make sure you're not don't have the camera on them,
Right.
and then that kind of like, but like an AEW crowd is so. The
They
AEW
love it.
crowd, they are so like ready for something other than WWE, which a lot of those fans grew up in the Attitude Era where it was blood and guts and TNA and craziness, and so they're ready for that again. They love seeing the blood. They want to see the hardcore. They want to see that stuff that they don't care. It's like an I equate it to an ECW crowd. They are very much like they are so loud. They cheer for everything, even when a match is terrible. They are just their guns
Right.
a-blazing. But that's part of why AEW is very smart in how they pick arenas.
Yep.
And
Yep.
this was the UCF
UCF.
college
Yep.
college arena, their basketball arena, not even their football arena. It was their college arena, basketball arena. So it only sits during a basketball game about maybe 15,000 tops.
Hmm.
For a wrestling show, you're cutting off like almost a third of the arena because of backstage. I think the attendance, like, yeah, it's sold out, but it was only like 10,000. Whoa. Hold on a second.
Yeah.
This is actually an important call, so we're going to take a quick break. I'm going to hit the BRB button. Give me 5 minutes.
Okay.
Okay, we're back. Sorry about that, everybody. Sometimes it happens. So that was actually my co-host from the Depths of Laughter podcast, Denise. She has quit her incredibly miserable insurance sales job.
Oh, good for her.
So she was letting us know about that. So yeah, that's a good sign. She has a lot of things that she's going to be doing. She's actually planning on opening up a business with her uncle, and that was something they were planning down the road, but she just kind of got fed up.
Springboard it now.
Yeah.
Yep.
So now they're going to
Cool.
springboard it and get to work. So that's great news for her. I'm sure her and I will talk more about that next Monday. So, where were we?
AEW,
Yes,
the
AEW.
Young Bucks.
Yeah. I think that I think the other problem that AEW has, and this is contributed to also storytelling, is that they now have an incredibly bloated roster.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
obviously, and I don't blame them for signing the people they've signed.
Right.
WWE has streamlined their roster,
Mhm.
and it's allowing them. And people want to talk about the budget cuts and whatnot. And I've already done videos on TikTok explaining that budget cuts, while a bad term for them to use, is not how people think it is. It is not a matter of they're hemorrhaging money. It's a matter of they're cutting costs so that they can streamline their product to make more money. And they are now at a place where the roster feels like almost everybody can get some kind of push. Are they pushing everybody? Not necessarily, but they're getting there. We're seeing Ricochet win titles. We're seeing Finn Balor win the title. There's a lot, it's a slow build, but we're seeing it. AEW is in the exact opposite situation where you have signed so many of those guys that obviously Bryan Danielson becomes a free agent, you sign him.
Yeah.
Adam Cole becomes a free agent, you sign him.
Mhm. Yep.
Keith Lee, you sign him. Like everybody they've signed, you
You
course
have
you
to.
sign that person.
You have to sign them. Yep.
But so many of the AEW originals, so many of these guys that have never been WWE guys, some of these guys that they were building have now gotten so lost in the sauce. And part of that is because A, bloated roster, but B, because they already didn't have a great storytelling basis to begin with. Now you've got
Nope.
guys like Joey Janela has said he is not renewing his contract. There are other people that have not renewed their contracts. You've now got Cody Rhodes, who left AEW. Like, that's insanity.
Yeah, I don't get that. I was shocked by that.
That is straight up insanity. And everybody who thinks it's a work that he left, he's really still there, it's not. Because if it is a work, and I explained this on my friend Malik's show the other night on Sunday night, if that's a work, they're going to lose so many sponsors, because they told the sponsors in a nice farewell message from both Cody and Tony Khan. They told the sponsors and their charities that he is gone.
Right.
And so you don't work your sponsors. You don't work charities.
Nope.
That is so disrespectful on so many levels. So if this is a work, they have screwed themselves royally.
They have.
And but for Cody, who is literally the guy, like, at the end of the day, without Cody, there is no AEW, bar none.
Right.
If you can put it on one person's shoulders, it's not Tony Khan's, it's not Kenny Omega's, it's not the Young Bucks. It is all Cody. Because go ahead.
Because more people knew Cody. You know what I mean? Like, as I was going to say this earlier, like when AEW started, there was a bunch of wrestlers who were on their roster that I didn't know. I knew one person on the AEW roster when they started. Well, maybe two or three. But the big one was Cody Rhodes, because he was the starter. He was the founder of the damn company. And now he's gone.
Yeah, that's it.
Well,
the thing is, too, with Cody is that, like, the Young Bucks and Kenny Omega have talked about doing their own promotion forever.
Yeah.
Tony Khan doesn't come to the picture without Cody Rhodes.
Right.
The whole idea of even trying to do AEW doesn't come into the picture without Cody Rhodes.
Right.
It really was Cody. And Cody going over to Japan and meeting these guys and becoming friends with them and putting the ear, the ear, or the bug in their ear to do, like, we can do this. We can go to America and we can make a rival company. That's all on Cody.
Yeah.
So him leaving, I think, is insanely massive, but it doesn't hurt AEW as much. Like, excuse me, the first thing that might ever actually hurt AEW is if MJF leaves when his contract's up, or
Yeah.
like if
Oh,
Kenny Omega leaves, or the young, if any of those, like any of the
yep.
actual pillars. And I
Yep.
know there's the four pillars are MJF, Jungle Boy, Sammy Guevara, and somebody else. I forgot who the
Is
fourth
it
was.
Darby?
Darby Allin, which I always forget he exists because he's a piece of shit. But um, if any of those four leave, or if Kenny Omega or the Young Bucks ever leave, and especially to jump ship to say WWE, that could be the beginning of the downhill fall. And I have equated a lot of what AEW does to what WCW did.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I
Yep.
think that they're on that same playbook, and even Eric Bischoff said it, and
Yeah.
he said that's not a good thing.
Right. He might not be wrong. You know, he's been there. He knows about all that. Are you going to have too many chefs stirring the pot? You know, which is what happened to WCW. I remember it back then. I watched the Monday Night Wars and I saw how WCW screwed themselves over. You know, they were on top for a long time, but stuff started getting messy, and I I knew they were going to lose when what they had the '97 Starcade with Hogan and Sting. They built that match up for a year, and then they have it again the very next night on Nitro.
Yep.
And they didn't even have like a conclusive finish. And then
Nope.
like a year later from that, they had the finger poke of doom, which was their finger poke of doom.
Yeah, I mean, and I think a lot of it is like AEW has guaranteed money contracts, and
Oh
they're
God,
giving a
yeah,
lot of people creative control, like 100% creative control.
yeah,
Like that's what WCW did, and
yeah.
it
It's
hurt them.
true.
Like
It did.
the CM Punk MJF dog collar match. The only good thing to come out of that match was the fact that Wardlow basically finished his face turn.
Yeah.
But MJF needed that win. CM Punk didn't.
Nope.
Now we're talking about CM Punk going after the world title. Why? Why?
Yeah.
Why? Is
I
Adam
feel like
Page
that.
is Adam Page going to end up being the last homegrown AEW person to have the title?
Yeah.
Like what the hell? Like CM Punk doesn't need it at all. Like that's why like yes, Edge did a program with Roman Reigns, but you
Mm-hmm.
never once thought that Edge was going to win that. And
No.
like he is not out there trying to win a title and carry a company. He's out there to build other stars, to have dream matches, to
Right.
to do things in the business to set a legacy.
His his match with AJ, the build up for that has been great in the past few weeks, and it's the reason why I'm actually interested in WrestleMania.
Yeah, I think that
Yeah.
I honestly think this WrestleMania is putting together one hell of a card.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I think that we've got a lot to look forward to.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, I know that a lot of people go, "Oh, there's too many celebrities that are going to be in it." Well, first off, that's WrestleMania.
Right.
How like just think back to the first WrestleMania. How many celebrities
Yeah.
were at that show? You had
How
Mr.
many?
You had Mr. T in a match.
Right.
You had Liberace, you had Muhammad Ali, you had Cyndi Lauper, you had
Yeah.
but I mean I think it was like 8 or 9 celebrities highlighted
And they
in the
were all
show.
pretty much involved in the main event.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. No.
So like
What?
I'm not a Logan Paul fan, but putting him in a tag match with the Miz versus the Mysterios, it will be a nice little showcase match.
Right.
The Johnny Knoxville versus Sami Zayn, I'm really looking forward to because I know Johnny Knoxville will take the craziest bumps,
Yeah.
and Sami Zayn is a genius and he'll make everybody look good. And Pat
Yes.
McAfee versus Austin Theory, Pat McAfee will probably carry that match, even though Austin Theory is technically the veteran there. Pat McAfee is a trained wrestler. If you've seen
Yep.
his matches against Adam Cole or the War Games match, he's really
Mm-hmm.
good. He's in the
Yes,
best
he
shape
is.
of his life.
Right.
That's going to be amazing.
Yep.
On
It
top
should
of we
that
got AJ
that one could
Styles.
steal the show.
It could very easily, at least on whatever night it's on,
Yeah.
if not the whole weekend.
Right.
But you got Edge versus AJ Styles, which neither one of them can put on a bad match, I think.
Nope.
You've got the tag team title with RK Bro versus Street Profits, and now it looks like with Alpha Academy, that triple
Right.
threat will be great.
Yeah. 3 great teams that
yeah.
that do very well.
Yep. I mean the Usos versus Shinsuke and Rick Boogs. I don't know about that one.
No.
I am a huge Rick Boogs fan though. I think he's great.
Mm-hmm.
You've got every championship match I'm invested in.
Mm-hmm.
As far as at least the world titles. The Raw Women's title, I'm absolutely invested in. Bianca Belair versus Becky Lynch. A full match out of those two is going to be great. Charlotte versus Ronda. Even though I know how that's going to end up, I just know how it's going to end up. Like it may not go to Ronda. Like there may be like a disqualification or something, leading to a longer program. But I still think at WrestleMania you end up having Ronda win. However, I'm all for it. The Brock Lesnar Roman Reigns, I am absolutely invested. And I'm actually okay with title unification if done correctly. So I mean, there's just so much that like this WrestleMania really, really, really. I think they're doing. I think it's gonna live. It could live up to that stupendous marketing BS.
It could. I think it's going to be good. I think it's. I was thinking that like there's a few people in WWE right now who I think are being like the best versions of their characters right now. Like you have Roman, you have Brock, like Seth Rollins is like the best version of himself right now.
I forgot to mention Kevin Owens and Stone Cold.
Oh, that's right. Kevin Owens, that's another one. The best version of himself right now.
And then
Edge.
Edge is killing it as always.
He kind of reminds me of Jericho from when he did that same type of gimmick.
Yeah.
Wearing the suit, using large words, talking down to everyone. Yeah, I'm looking forward to that. But yeah, a lot of their people are the best versions of themselves. And I think they don't really care about AEW as competition, to be honest. You know what I mean? They don't have to. They just have to be it. They're in it for the long game. They're in it to like you said, grow new audiences. I don't think AEW is growing a new audience if they're going to continue to have like blood and guts type stuff, and you need to grow a new audience while you still have your core audience, because your core audience is going to die away someday.
Yeah,
it's
just inevitable. That's time. That's time.
But this is really like a great time for a wrestling fan if you consider all the other promotions that are out there too. Like, I get to watch Impact on Thursday nights. And this is the best Impact wrestling I've seen.
Impact has really improved. I used to work dark matches for TNA back in the day when they were out of Orlando.
Yeah.
And the product was very good then, but and I'm talking back when like Christian Cage and Sting had first shown up. So very early on.
Yeah.
And the product was very good, but it was still like they were still trying to find themselves.
Yeah.
What Impact is now, like their storytelling has gotten so much better. Their character development, the people they have, they're really doing a really, really good job. And understand like they're not trying to like that was part of TNA's problem is they were always trying to be competition.
Yep.
Impact now is focused on let's not worry about competition. Let's just be the best we can be. Right. If we grow to a point where we are competition, great. If not, we're still a viable option and we're still the best we can be.
Yep.
Oh, excuse me. So I there's that. There's all kinds of independents that are really thriving.
I went to my first independent show a couple weeks ago.
Oh, nice. What was it?
It was a good time. It was truly independent wrestling in Massachusetts. My friend is a wrestler.
Right
on. And I went to go watch him wrestle for the first time. So
Nice,
I
nice. See,
helped run his merch table,
oh, there
so
you
I
go.
got it for free.
But that's the thing. There are like back when I wrestled, 2004, 2008. There was an independent on every corner. There was more independent wrestling than there were Starbucks.
Mm.
I was working 6 days a week, 8 shows a week. Um, Tuesday night was ACW in a bar called Bourbon Street. Wednesday night, I ran my own show called Innovative Wrestling Experience. Thursday nights was Elite Wrestling Entertainment, which was run by my trainer, Buck Quartermain. Um, Friday night, there was always a show somewhere. Saturday and Sunday, there was always an afternoon show and a night show. And so I wrestled 8 shows a week, 6 days a week.
Wow.
Um, but most of it was crap.
Mm.
Most of it was crap. And it's just because everybody and their mother wanted to be a booker and be a promoter. And now these independents are more like instead of everybody trying to just be a promoter or a booker, we're getting legitimate people who understand the business starting
Mm-hmm.
promotions. So you've got Evolve and Progressive, which have both now kind of joined WWE. You've got
Yep.
Shine, you've got GCW.
Oh yeah, I haven't watched any of that, but that looks interesting.
It's insane.
Yeah.
But so there's a lot of places for people to go. Of course, there's always there's New Japan and All Japan Pro, and the UK has really picked up in their independence, and so wrestling as a whole is in a better place now. We have to be careful that AEW doesn't get too big for their britches too quick.
Yeah.
Because I like the idea of them being around. I like the idea of an alternative. I like the idea
Right. We
of
need them around.
yeah, I
They need
like
to
that
stay.
idea because I mean, you could equate to the reason why WWE is getting better is that yes, they may not look at AEW as competition. They're not worried about them,
Right.
but they are still making their product better because competition breeds success. It breeds
Right.
improvement.
Yep.
And so
Yep.
while AEW may not be on their radar in the sense that they very rarely ever bring up AEW ever.
Nope.
And when they
Right.
when they do, it's always a very like non-blatant. Besides Sami Zayn, literally during a Q&A with the crowd, like you could have asked me about AEW. Like that's the only time it's ever really been mentioned.
Right.
Other time it's like on that other show or just a little nod here or there. I think AEW needs to focus on storytelling, and I think they need to focus on not 1,000 pot shots at WWE all the time.
Focus on themselves.
Yeah,
because that's what WCW did wrong. They didn't focus on themselves really. Even though
yeah, it was all
yes,
about.
they brought in these people from WWF, but like they just cared about bringing in more people.
Yeah,
And you're right. It is exactly like AEW.
and that's what. That's exactly what. Good lord. We're probably gonna wrap this up in a little bit because my phone is blowing up with all kinds of stuff, but that's fine. Hold on, let me real quick. Okay, so, yeah, if they take any bit of advice from Eric Bischoff, who was there in the trenches, back off just a little bit and focus on yourself, and then we'll
Right.
be good.
Yep.
That's the best thing AEW could do in this moment is like, okay, let's just more focus on. We've got the people here. We've got these things coming up. We've got legends, icons. We've got everything we need to be successful. We don't need to worry about anybody else. So let's now redirect focus in, make the best product here versus the product. Oh, our product is better. Make it better. Prove it through actions, not through words.
Right.
So
don't just tell us.
Exactly. On that note, because like I said, my phone is blowing up, so I apologize, everybody. This is a shorter podcast than most, but we appreciate everybody hanging out. Kevin, I will absolutely have you on again.
Cool.
Also, like I said, we'll have you on the Depths of Laughter. I think that'll be great. So, tell everybody real quick where they can find you.
McTaggartAttack.com, or you can find me at McTaggartAttack on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, and my podcast is What's Pissing You Off Wednesday.
And there you have it, ladies
I
and
think
gentlemen.
that's all of it.
All right. Thank you guys so much for hanging out. We appreciate you. And as always, please like and follow, subscribe, all that good jazz. Come find us on